Chile FM, this is Connected episode 417. I'm your host, Federico Vitici, and today's show is brought to you by some truly fine sponsors, Rogue Amoeba, Indeed, and TextExpander. For this episode of Connected, and for all the episodes of Connected, it is my pleasure to be joined by Mr. Stephen Hackett.
Hello, Federico.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I am doing... okay, we'll talk about how I'm doing later. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Yes.
Your emotional well-being is tied directly to stage manager.
Let's say that I'm doing. I'm doing. Yeah.
And sometimes you just freeze randomly. I am joined by Mr. Myke Hurley.
Why, hello there.
How are you, Myke?
It's been I'm good. I'm so excited for today's episode. There's some big topics in here, and I think mostly I'm just going to get to sit back and enjoy as you two tell me a bunch of stuff about some things, so I'm looking forward to that.
So let's dive right in. We had a big pro show today. Federico, give people the elevator pitch for what you talked about on the pro show.
What if your phone was not a phone? What if your phone was like a shovel? And what if the apps on your phone were not apps? What if those apps were plants? And your screen was not a screen, but it was a garden. In the Pro Show for Connected Pro members, which people can sign up for at getconnectedpro.co, we talk about note-taking, digital gardens, and the idea of using different apps for different jobs.
If you want to hear what my brain sounds like when I find out what a digital garden is, you can sign up at getconnectedpro.co. This is not a phrase I knew until about 20 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. It's a really good pro show today. If you've been on the fence, you've not signed up for Connected Pro, give this one a go. You can sign up, try it out, $5 a month. You just pay the $5. You can listen to it. If you think it's not for you, then you just get rid of it. But it's good. You get Discord, you get a bunch of stuff. Getconnectedpro.co. I have some follow-up on my iPhone 14 Pro. I think I spoke about this on this show last week. I tried that thing where, I have been trying that thing where I turned off the notification previews until Face ID unlocked to kind of help distinguish the difference between always on and not, So, the always on screen just shows the name of the app and, one new notification or whatever when they pop up. I don't think I like it. I'm remembering why I turned this feature off before. Because Face ID is good, right? But you kind of have to you have to kind of give the phone what it needs for Face ID, right? It has to be directly in front of you. It has to actually get the scan. Because I feel like a lot of the time now, I'm seeing that I have a notification. I'm looking at my phone. So I'm like, okay, come on, do your thing. And nothing's happening. And I have to tap the notification or swipe up again to get Face ID to do its thing. So I'm not sure if this is what I'm looking for. Steven, you said you were going to try this. Did you try this?
Yeah, I've been running this way since last week's show. And while I agree with you, it's a bit sometimes frustrating where I just want to look at my phone and see what came in. And I've got to catch Face ID's attention. Overall, I think I like it more than you do. It's kind of nice from a privacy perspective because your phone is just always on, right? The display's always just out there for people to see. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick with it for a little while longer. I haven't had many situations where it's an actual problem, but I do notice that little bit of friction, like you said.
I have actually just now turned it off because I didn't like it.
Okay.
So that's gone. I was listening to the talk show. Nilay Patel was the guest. And this is something Nilay mentioned in his iPhone 14 Pro review. And hearing him talk about it in more detail with John Gruber, I agree with him that the dynamic islands interaction is backwards. Having to long press on the widget, long press on it to get the widget to pop up, that feels wrong. After having used this, I'm in the camp of you should tap it to get it to expand, long press to open the app. That's where I've come down on. Because all of the good stuff is behind the long press. Mm-hmm. I've definitely come down on the note, on the idea that it's the wrong way around. That a tap on the dynamic island should do whatever is happening within the dynamic island, and then a long tap to reopen the app. Because hey, if I want to tap to open an app, I already know how to do that. I just tap on the app icon, right? It doesn't need to be a quick launcher for me. It should be doing whatever it's doing as like the multitasking as its primary thing. And something Eli was talking a lot about was like in all of the ads, they're showing like the dynamic island doing its thing. Like that's what they're promoting. So that should be the primary interaction, not the secondary one.
Agree. I thought so when reading the reviews before using the phone, and now using the phone, I agree even more. It feels backwards.
I really hope that they add it as an option at least, but we'll see. I also just wanted to voice a grumble with the iPhone 14's camera.
Okay.
A grumble, because I'm not like super mad about this, but it's just like it's frustrating sometimes. The macro lens switchover is happening so much more. It's because they changed the focal length, right? The focal length has changed. So now photos where I just take a picture of something, which is relatively close, but not super close, is changing over to the macro lens all the time. And you can toggle it off and do the thing and like maybe move the phone and focus. And, you know, it is better now. The ultra wide is better and blah, 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 blah. So like these macro images are looking better than they ever have, etc., etc. Yeah, it's just a little bit annoying, but I'm happy that I have the toggle. If you've not turned that toggle on in settings, by the way, I thoroughly recommend it. This is the thing that we were like, on this show especially, we were really asking for, like, because they didn't have it. Do you remember that? They didn't have it for a while.
It would just switch on its own. It's like, I got nothing
and you had
to do.
to like do a bunch of stuff to get it to stop. So if you have an iPhone 14 Pro, I recommend enabling that feature. But, you know, for quick photos or something, like it's fine. That I don't care what setting it's on. If I'm just like snapping something for later, like I'm taking a picture of something, I need to look at it, like for example, a Wi-Fi code or whatever. But if I don't always want the macro mode for all things. So that's that. I have one more thing. Do you remember my iPhone 13 that was all scratched? Do you remember that? We spoke about this on the show a bunch of times, and Apple refused to replace it under my Apple Care. Remember this?
I do remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you believe, guys, that I dropped my iPhone 13 Pro and broke the screen?
Oh,
Could you imagine?
Oh, you did?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I dropped it. I dropped it like 4 times and it was perfectly fine. One of those, like 2 of those times, I dropped it onto a corner of a piece of furniture and it survived. And I was like, incredible, iPhone 13 Pro, you're doing your job. And then I dropped it onto something metal, which was like so unlucky that I dropped it like 5 times in a row.
That's very unlucky.
And the screen broke way more than I would have necessarily wanted it to, but it broke. And so now I have done an Apple Care Express replacement thing. So they're sending a box to me and I'm going to put it in the box and send it away. And apparently it will cost £25, which is cheaper than I was expecting. So we'll see what happens there because I thought it was $75. But I don't know. I'll let you know how that goes. But just as a long-term piece of follow-up, my iPhone 13 Pro accidentally broke.
As someone who's never broken a phone, I'm very curious on how that repair goes for you.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
I have no experience with it.
There was one of those things where, for some reason, I'd forgotten. I don't know why, but like my brain was like, because it broke, and it also like the screen is like completely unresponsive. It like basically put a hole in the screen. This accidental drop, and so like I can't do anything on the phone, which is funny. It's like I can't like erase it because the phone was also off, so I can't put in a code so it won't connect to any Wi-Fi. Whatever. Like I don't care. It's just a silly thing that happened, but. There was like a part of my brain which forgot that like the glass and the screen are one thing. That you don't just replace the glass, you replace the entire thing and the glass has a screen attached to it. I don't know why my brain couldn't work that out, but it was silly of me, really. Silly to drop it, you know?
I'm sorry you had an accident.
It was terrible.
This show is being recorded on Wednesday, September 28th. That means it's almost the end of the month, and we are winding down our fundraiser for St. Jude. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and so every month we talk about the life-saving work of St. Jude, which is a cancer hospital and research institution that treats kids with cancer without regard to their family's ability to pay. That means treatment, travel, food, lodging. It's all covered by the donations that people make to St. Jude. And as we record this, we have raised this year $540,000 for the kids of St. Jude, which is absolutely spectacular. That's over $2 million in the last 4 years, which is just simply incredible. The campaign is going to close on Friday, September 30th. Myke and I are going to be hosting the closing ceremonies where we close down the fundraising. If you have a community fundraiser, which like almost 300 people have done, those will stay open until noon Eastern on Monday. So you have the weekend if you're fundraising on your own to wrap that up. But just a huge thank you to everyone who has given, who has done fundraising themselves, who has talked about this on social media or people in real life. It's been a really awesome month for the Relay FM community to come together around this.
Yeah, it's been incredible. Passing that $2 million raised over the last 4 years was an incredible thing to have achieved together. And we've raised just a staggering amount of money this year, and we're all so proud, and it goes a long way, and it does a lot.
This episode of Connected is made possible by Rogue Amoeba. You're hearing my voice right now because I'm using a bunch of Rogue Amoeba software. We'll get to that in a minute. But Rogue Amoeba software is celebrating their 20th anniversary, which is just incredible. 2 full decades of making amazing audio apps for the Macintosh. If you're a podcaster, musician, or just someone who listens to audio on their Mac, Rogue Amoeba can make your life better. Whatever you want to do with audio, it's a good bet that they're going to have a tool that can help you. With audio hijacking, you can record any audio. Loopback gives you extremely powerful audio routing without needing cables or mixers. And SoundSource is the sound control that honestly should have just been built in to macOS. I've used Audio Hijack every podcast I've recorded for like 10 years. It is amazingly powerful. The UI is really cool where you can move these blocks around and the signal will flow through them and you can see exactly what it's doing in a really visual way. All of Rogue Amoeba's apps look incredible, super well designed, super easy to use. You know, sound routing stuff, it can be complicated, but Audio Hijack and Loopback make it easy to understand what's going on. I seriously could not do my job without their applications. Now look, Rogue Amoeba doesn't run constant gimmicky sales or discounts. They charge fair prices all the time. But in celebration of their anniversary, they're making an exception. For a very limited time, to celebrate their 20 years in business, you could get 20% off any purchase from Rogue Amoeba. There's no coupon code, there's no special URL. Just go to macaudio.com to save 20% on anything they make. This deal is only valid to the end of September, so it's nearly over. You can download free trials and then buy online to receive the discounted price. A big congratulations to Rogue Amoeba on 20 great years. Visit them at macaudio.com now before the offer ends. Our thanks to Rogue Amoeba for their support of the show and Relay FM. Time to get ultra.
Big boy.
Big orange watch boy.
Big wrist Steven over here.
My wrist is 170 millimeters. I don't know if that's big or not. Y'all know your wrist sizes?
I've never considered it because I've never had a watch where I needed to measure my...
For me, it's not something I've had to really consider either. And I had to go find Mary's like fabric tape measure. So it's like super bendy. And one side was inches, the other side was millimeters. So anyways, I got my Apple Watch Ultra on its launch day, which was last Friday. So I've had it 4 or 5 days. And I thought I could walk through some of my early impressions and answer any questions y'all may have.
I do have lots of questions. So
okay. Let me start with the unboxing. Do y'all remember in the early days of the Apple Watch, like I had like the Series 0 stainless steel. My first Apple Watch was stainless steel. Mm-hmm. Remember the box that those nice watches came in? They were like cube shaped and they're like glossy white plastic. Did that ring a bell to anybody?
Yes. Yeah. The editions used to come packaged like that.
Okay. So the Ultra doesn't come in a box like that, but it does come in some pretty unique packaging.
So my ceramic one came in a plastic box. It wasn't square, it was long, but it wasn't the paper boxes. It came in like a special thing.
Should have come in a ceramic box.
That would be quite expensive.
So for a while now, the Apple Watch and bands have come separately, and they're just kind of like wrapped together. The Ultra follows suit with that. But the boxes are bigger and the inside print, instead of like colorful watch bands, mine, I think because I have the Alpine band, had like a rugged mountain scene. And I think the interior printing is different depending on what band you get. But really nice box. It comes with this booklet that shows you all the features of the watch. It's like all color printed, like really big images of the watch. It's just a very nice experience. Definitely nicer than I've had on an Apple Watch in a long time. After the unboxing, though, it's kind of funny how straightforward the setup was. Like it works like any other Apple Watch, right? I said, take my old one, move it to the new one. In the setup process, there was an additional step where you could set what the action button does. And that can be changed later in the Watch app on iOS. And you have a bunch of different options. You can tie it to a workout. You can have it run a shortcut, which I tried, but shortcuts are so slow to execute on watchOS. I kind of gave up on that, and I just have mine set to the flashlight, so I can light up the sky with my 2000 nit brightness Apple Watch if I need to.
Do you do this a lot?
I didn't know what else to so let me read you the list, okay? And I think you'll see where.
All right.
Okay, so workout, stopwatch, waypoint, backtrack, dive, flashlight, shortcut, and none.
Why you set to none?
I feel like flashlight was the most useful. Maybe none.
None sounds good.
And you hold and
then
press.
it's a fidget toy.
Yeah, it is. You hold and press to do the siren. So you can just click and it does whatever action you tied into it.
Oh.
The shortcut one would be much more interesting if shortcuts were just faster on the watch, but they are not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would go with. And you can use it in some apps to do things, right? Like it's tied to actions inside of applications too, right? So you can, if you're in the workout app and you press it, it like does a new workout or like splits the workout or something, right? Right?
Yes, but I don't think I've seen it in action anywhere else. I think it's just the workouts app right now. And maybe that'll change with time.
I think developers can do something, but obviously no one's ready for that yet.
And is the developer going to take time to build support for a button that's on one watch?
On the app, but yes.
Right. If this were everywhere, and we can talk about that in a minute, like what will the regular Apple Watch inherit from this watch in the future? The action button would be the top of my list for that. Obviously, the biggest question here is size, right? It's a 49 millimeter case. It's just one size. It does not have the smaller and larger sizes like the regular Series 8 does. It's as big as I could go, I think, again, on my 170 millimeter wrist. Watch size, I think, is something that's obviously very subjective. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine last week before I got the Ultra, and like he wears an Apple Watch basically only when he runs, and he had just gotten a new watch to wear the rest of his life, and he actually went smaller than what he had before. So people just have different feelings on this. The size works for me, but again, I don't think I could go any bigger. I will say if you're wearing like long sleeves, like today I'm wearing a jacket, like you definitely notice it more than the other watches because of the size. And I think because the edges aren't that sort of rounded shape, right? So like your sleeve doesn't like glide over the crown as easily because it's got the big crown guard and the other side is flat. Like you're just a little bit more aware of its presence. Maybe that will fade with time.
Catch on it, like a little bit.
A little
Is that
bit.
What you mean?
I think it depends on like these sleeves I'm wearing on this jacket have a little elastic in them, and like I kind of had to like kind of pull it over it. But
right,
my guess is that will become more normal with time. Like right now, I'm very aware that it's bigger than my old Apple Watch was. Now, in 6 months, will I think that? Probably not. Like my brain will just adjust to this is what the Apple Watch is. But there is a little bit of a curve, I think, in getting used to the size. But I'll say it's mostly about the size. It's not about the weight. I mean, everyone said this in the hands-on in their reviews, and I'll echo it. It is not as heavy as it looks. And I meant to, and I just ran out of time, but I meant to weigh my old watch with this one because my old one's also titanium. It feels like it is heavier than my old watch, but not by as much as it should be based on the size. Like, I don't know what they've done there, but you look at it or you see pictures of it online, you think, my gosh, like that must be like a boat anchor. It's really not. And I think the titanium goes a long way to that because the titanium is way lighter than the steel Apple Watch, even in the same size. And that's one of the benefits of the materials they've chosen.
Do you think you could wear this with like a collared shirt?
I think so.
Okay.
It may have to be a little like I think you just be aware of getting the, sleeve around it. And if the sleeve like buttons or, if you're wearing like a sports coat or something, I think it would be okay. But I think you just be more aware of it than you would any previous watch.
So I just looked this up. The 45mm stainless steel, the Series 8, is 51.5 grams. The Ultra is 61.3 grams.
So it's even heavier than the steel. I guess the size helps it not feel as dense. I don't know. It's a weird trick they've pulled off here, that it doesn't feel as heavy as you think it would.
I can't see the titanium in there. They don't have that information of how much the titanium weighs just on their website. I'm sure we could find it, but it's heavier than the steel.
The design, I like the titanium. I liked the titanium Apple Watch before. I had a pick or a risky it was a flexi of like Apple moving to titanium on the side rails of the phone. I still think they should do that. But the texture, like the finish is really different. The old titanium watches were brushed titanium, and you could see, without even being that close to it, you could see the brush marks in it, and it looked really nice. This watch, the finish is not dissimilar from the aluminum, like silver aluminum Apple Watch, where it's kind of that bead blasted smooth look. It doesn't look like aluminum, like the color is a little bit warmer, but it is not brushed. It's sort of the satin finish that I think actually looks really nice with this design. I think if they had done the brushed, it would have maybe been a bit too busy. And so it works for me, the sort of flat matte look. It diffuses light. It doesn't really have any strong reflections off of any of the metal. Yeah, I think it's really nice. I think some people have wanted Apple to have a darker version of this, and I think that would be cool in the future. I know nothing about how you would color titanium. Like I don't know if it could be anodized like aluminum is, but at least with the raw titanium, if I get a big gouge in it, you're not going to see a different color like poking out from underneath, because it should be the same finish basically all the way through. And so I can see from a longevity, like roughness perspective, why Apple wouldn't want to do any colors unless the metal was colored all the way through. But if they had a dark one in the future, I think a lot of people would dig that.
Is it comfortable to wear?
It is for me. I mean, it sits squarely on my wrist. The lugs don't overhang the sides of my wrist. I think, again, like it's all about wrist size. I do tend to wear my watch pretty close to like that bone that's at the end of your wrist, like at your hand. You guys know what I'm talking about?
The little bump?
Yeah.
The bump
little bumpy
bone,
bone.
as they call it? The bumpy bone?
The bumpy bone.
Yeah.
You definitely want it below that. Like if it's on top of that, I think because the size kind of sits up on it in a little bit of a weird way.
So you want it to like the left of the bumpy bone?
Yeah, like the inside, like away from the hand.
Vidit in Discord has said like the titanium was 45.1 grams in the Series 7.
Okay.
So that's quite a difference.
Yeah.
61 grams to 45.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's that big of a difference.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
I mean, sure, it's like your brain would tell you it would be bigger.
Yeah.
Like by looking at the thing. What do you think of the crown guard?
I think it's fine. Like, it's it's definitely like the sore spot on the design. It looks tacked on in a way that I didn't really anticipate, but I've gotten used to it pretty quickly. I like that the crown is sort of flush with it. It's like the most prominent the side button has ever been, which is funny to me because the side button, like, it's had so many jobs over the years. Remember, at first it was like the circle of friends thing. It's weird, but it is.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's fine. It definitely makes it a bit more distinctive than the standard Apple Watch.
Can we talk about the display?
Yes, please.
The thing that I have been struck with the most for the many people I follow online who have gotten one of these, so I was actually quite surprised how many people I'm seeing post their wrist photos with their Apple Watch Ultras. The flat display is the thing that I find to be the most visually attractive about this. To me, I think it's just because it's different. Like, it's visually very different from the old Apple Watches. And I just want to know, like, what do you think? Do you like it? How is it to use it? And also, like, what is that, the lip around the edge? Like, how does it feel to use?
The lip is so minor that if I didn't know it was slightly raised, by feeling it, you can't really tell that it's raised. I mean, it is. The glass is not sunken into the metal in any really perceptible way. It's very minor. I really like the flat look, though. I mean, obviously the screen is bigger. I think the flat display makes the screen look even bigger than it would otherwise. And all in all, like it's definitely the nicest screen on an Apple Watch. I like the flatness gives it sort of that modern feel, like we've seen on some of Apple's other devices, and it doesn't do the thing that, like, I think the Series 7 in particular, for me, was kind of annoying at. You get like reflections and like light scattering around the edges of the display where it curved down. And obviously you don't have any of that here because the screen is flat and then it's surrounded by metal. And so it's just a cleaner look. It's less organic looking for sure, but I really like it.
It's aggressive, the design, I think, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, like especially like watch design. Watches get pretty bold.
Yeah.
You know, like sharp edges and big and chunky and stuff. Like, I think it works visually. But using WatchOS on that screen, does it feel any different? Like, really?
No.
Okay.
WatchOS suffers from this, I think, even worse than iOS and iPadOS do, where it doesn't really do anything to take advantage of the bigger screen. Everything is mostly just scaled up. That's most noticeable, I think, on the watch faces. Like, we can talk about that separately in a second, but like the modular watch face that I used on my Series 7, like I don't get any extra stuff with it on the new watch. Everything's just a little bit bigger. The space between everything's a little bit bigger. I don't think it looks bad. Like, I don't think it looks comical. Like say the way the the home screen grid looks on the iPad mini, right? It's like so bad and so awkward. I don't think there's anything that stands out there in a hugely negative sense, but I do wonder if Apple can get away with watchOS basically just scaling forever, or will there be at some point something different they do with this larger screen? You know, I get that it's the first one. I get also that watchOS 9 has to support a pretty wide range of screen sizes, and so just scaling it up and down is probably the easiest thing for them and their developers, but it definitely leaves a little bit to be desired. Like, you have this nice big screen and you can basically see the same amount of stuff as you do on a smaller watch.
Yeah, it kind of, we'll talk about watchOS in a minute, but it kind of feels like watchOS 9 in general has had some redesign work done to it to like take advantage of screen space. Mm-hmm. Which I think they maybe did that for the Ultra, but the other watches get it too, so it kind of doesn't really feel like you have any particular benefit.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, if you're reading a text message, I guess you can see some more lines of text. I haven't actually compared it directly to my Series 7, but in using it, it feels very much like the same experience, just everything's a little bit bigger, a little bit more spaced out.
You mentioned watch faces.
Yeah.
What one are you using?
So right now, I've just brought my modular face over from the Series 7. There is a face that's specific to this watch called Wayfinder.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It does look cool, and you can adjust it where it works a little bit better in always-on mode. And of course, it has the deal where you rotate the crown and it's all red, so it like protects your night vision if you're out stargazing or something. I have a lot of questions why other Apple Watch faces didn't get that. Like, couldn't they just do that without updating all the other watch faces? Like, just apply some sort of filter to it? I don't know. It's weird that's not there. My problem with Wayfinder is my problem basically with a lot of Apple's watch faces, where I don't really care for the curved complication type, because a lot of things just don't do well curved. Like Carrot Weather's got a bunch of complications, and I think it works pretty well. I can have like a little graph of high and low. Todoist, I get a little bar, showing how many things I have back. But then if I want to see calendar events, like they got to basically be one word long or they get truncated. And that's true for a bunch of Apple Watch faces where the complications are around the outside. And I've kind of just given up on getting one of those really the way that I like it. And I like having, my computer watch be a little bit more computery. So I think modular is going to be it.
I mean, it feels like you could just complain about watchOS watch faces forever, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a constant thing. Have you, like that night vision red mode thing on the Wayfinder, do you have any particular thought? Like, is it like good.
I mean, it's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
My bigger question is like, why didn't they do it everywhere? Like, if it's this really important feature.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly you're just not doing enough extreme things. So
I know.
if you did more extreme things, you would wayfind, and if you were wayfinding, you could more extremely look at it in the dark.
It's true.
You got a band too, though, right? Which band did you get?
I got the orange Alpine band, which is the one with the loops on the outside and has a titanium like kind of S hook. Actually, it looks like a 6 now that I'm looking at it. And the hook is all on the outside. It's awesome. The band's really comfortable. It's really lightweight. It's easy to find because like the little loops are pretty close to each other, so it's easy to find one that fits well for you. But it's definitely a little...
It's easy to put on.
It's not the easiest watch band to put on.
But you don't... But it makes sense, though, because it's meant to stay on, right? Like, that's... I feel like these bands are a little different to the other ones. I feel like... No, this is purpose. Like, this one is, like, meant to hold on when you're climbing up a mountain.
Right.
Like, that's what it's for.
Yeah, I can't really imagine what I would be doing where this watch band accidentally comes undone. Right, like I think it would take my arm with it before the band came undone. I do have the black and gray trail loop, which is like basically like the sports, like the Velcro one. I got one of those on order because like the downside of this band is, and I mean I like orange, I like bright orange, but it's really noticeable. And I'd like to have something that tones it down a little bit, but that doesn't ship until November, so I just have this for a while. But it looks great, and it is, once you kind of get the hang of how to put it on, you can do it relatively quickly. It just took me a couple of days to like work out, okay, what little spot do I want to put it in, and how do I manage it? It's comfortable. Like it's basically everything that touches you is sort of, it's not canvas, but it's kind of like a ridged material. I don't know. It's very different from any other watch band I've had from Apple. I'll say that. And it definitely completes the look. And I think it's one reason, I should have said this at the beginning, this is the first time in a long time that someone has come up to me and said, oh, is that the new one? Like referencing an Apple product in my possession. I mean, I think the last time was like the iPhone 10, maybe. And I think the bright orange band honestly has more to do with it than the size. And
I mean, the whole thing screams different, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's very visually different.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, like, to me, like, when I've seen it, considering that it does share so many things with the other watches from, like, a design language, it is surprising just how different a product it looks. Does that make sense? I mean, you tell me, does that make sense what I said based on your experience?
Yeah, I think so. And I think with orange kind of being, like, the product, like, if anyone's seen a photo of this just, like, float by on Facebook, it was probably the one with the orange band, right? It's the image Apple's using. And so,
yeah,
it definitely just draws more attention to it. And I think that's kind of funny. Like, it's just been a while since I've had that happen, especially repeatedly, like over the weekend. So I got it Friday afternoon. I wore it Saturday to a football game, Sunday to church, Sunday to some family stuff. And even like last night, I saw some people and they're like, "Oh, is that the new one?" Like yep, it is. And I think the orange, the bold orange, is probably what gives it away, at least from across the room. And I really like this band, but I'm also looking forward to kind of dressing it down a little bit with the black gray trail loop. Now, I have not tried the ocean water band, which, at least in the yellow, looks like a bunch of like noodles stuck together.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, I do.
The colors are good. Like the yellow is
The
nice.
yellow is nice. I think the white looks pretty sharp.
Don't know about yellow and orange though.
Yeah.
That feels not good. Like the orange is always there.
I think the white looks pretty sharp. Those you can actually, at least here, you can get them next day. So I may end up picking one of those up to try. I would like to compare the three of them at some point. But again, it's not till November when the trail loop shows up. And so maybe later in the year I can review the three of them side by side.
Right.
I did try a standard, large Apple Watch band on it. And it works, like it clips in and it's fine, but it definitely looks a little too narrow for my taste. You could do it. Like say that I wanted to wear this someplace nice before the darker band shows up. Like I would put a dark band on it and it would be fine. The other way around, I think works about as well. Like you can put this band on a Series 7. Like it's fine. It's a little bit weird.
I mean, there are a bunch of bands that don't have metallic lugs, and you can use all those, like the loops.
Yeah.
Don't have metallic. The magnetic one, which I love. I recommend that to anyone, by the way. If you want a nice looking, well functional watch band, the magnetic loop is your friend.
Yeah.
Like you could wear all those, right? But yeah, I know what you mean. That it would be strange. It's like I thought about, like, do I want any of these? But now, like, no, I'm not going to put the silver lugs on my gold watch. That's just weird. More power to you if you do it, but that's not my thing.
Yeah, the lug mismatch. I don't like mismatched metals. I don't mind if like the lug is blue or black. You know, that plasticky whatever material Apple uses. I agree with you. I think metal mismatch on the lugs is a deal breaker for me. You know, I saw some people trying it on their steel bands, which I think Apple still sells. I've actually never seen one of those in person, I don't think. Or at least I've never like handled one. That kind of works. Like it'd be kind of cool if Apple had a titanium version of that matched, but they seem to have basically forgotten that band exists.
Do you sleep track?
I do.
Could you sleep with this on?
You definitely notice the size. Like it's
I can't worry about you moving your arm and just like give Mary like
she made that exact joke. She's like, keep that thing away from me. And it's not as comfortable to sleep in as the smaller, like the Series 7. What I've considered doing is, I cannot believe I'm going to say this.
Day watch, night
watch.
Day watch, night watch.
Because the Series 7 I have on like the Velcro fabric-y band. It's really comfortable. It's obviously smaller. Like it also is rounded off. Like it doesn't have the weird protrusion on the side. So I don't know. Like it's, I haven't gone through with that yet, but I think that's where I may end up. Like, look, we haven't talked about like the battery life on this watch is wild. So yesterday, I was up early yesterday, put the watch on first thing, worked all day, like, you know, in the office, around the house, etc. Yesterday afternoon, I'm pulling it up in fitness, I went for a 2.77 mile walk. So I walked for just under an hour, came home, had dinner, was going to bed. We were going to bed, Mary's watch, which is the small Series 7, hit low power mode, you know, like the 10% thing, because she had worked out for about half an hour that morning and was in school all day. And I swiped mine up and Control Center said I had 74% battery life remaining.
Oh my God.
It doesn't make any sense relative to what we know about Apple Watch batteries. Like it's just,
man,
it's really, really funny.
That's monster.
Yeah. So like I could sleep in it and I think I'd get like 2 or 3 days pretty easily. If we were going away for a weekend, like we were going camping, I wouldn't even bring an Apple Watch charger. Like it would be fine.
Especially when they bring out that wild thing that it does.
Right.
And it says it should triple the battery life. So there was actually some information from this. It was either in MKBHD or iJustini's review, because Apple didn't really give any information, but I think I heard it there. Like, so battery optimization coming later this year, and basically what it does is it's pinging GPS and the heart rate sensors less often. In doing that, it should triple the battery life and should get you around 60 hours of battery life.
See what I mean? Like,
which is,
there's no reference to like this battery life in other Apple Watches. It's so far beyond.
Yeah.
And so if sleeping with like the Series 7 on would really just be about the comfort level, not about anything else. And that's probably what I'll end up doing, because, you know, trade in on Apple Watches is bad, and selling them, like, you know, you can do it, but you're also going to take a bath, and it's titanium. Like, it's a nice watch. I probably would just hold on to it for sleep tracking purposes, but it's...
Well, also, like, you might not want to wear the Ultra if you're going for a nice meal.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm also one that I won't, like, if Mary and I were going out, like, I probably would wear a traditional watch anyways.
You wear a real watch, yeah.
Like my calculator watch.
Like a gentleman.
But it's...
Casio calculator. Like a real gentleman.
Yeah. Telememo, yeah. let me open the door for you and calculate our tip on my wrist.
All right, so I have 2 final questions.
Okay.
For you. If you want to say more, you can, but these are my 2 last questions. And it's like, I'll ask both of them at the same time. Are you going to keep it? Why are you going to keep it?
I am keeping it because despite some of the weirdness around the size and like I'm basically committing to new bands, even though I don't have to commit to new bands, I really like it. I like the size. I like look, I am squarely in the like crosshairs of Apple's marketing for this thing. We're like, yeah, like I work out and I do outdoor activities, but I'm not like an ultra marathoner where this watch doesn't really meet my needs, right? Like a lot of what this watch can do is totally aspirational for my level of fitness and activity. But I like sort of the lifestyle side of it, right? I like kind of what the watch says, and the size works for me. Like if this had been too big, I was not going to force the issue because I didn't want to wear a watch that was like hanging over my wrist and like banging into things. And I think I'm just within the parameters for the size. If this watch were 51 millimeters or 52 millimeters, I don't think I could pull it off. But I feel like the size works for me. I like the features, and I like the way it looks. And so for me, it'll be sticking around. Even if I never use it to, hike across Scotland or whatever Underscore's doing this week.
I can't wait for him to talk about that. He told me he was going to write it up, but
yeah.
I can't wait to hear about his experience.
Maybe we should get him on the show.
Maybe we could ask him.
Maybe we could do that. Underscore. Join us on the show. There, he's been asked.
There you go. That's wonderful.
That's how we do all of our business.
I remember I said I wanted to go try one on. I wanted to go to the Apple Store, try it on. I've decided not to do that.
Because you don't want to be tempted?
I'm worried I'm going to buy one.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, I'm not looking. I've refused to look. Adina tried one on. I sent Steven a picture, and it's one of the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. It's like somebody put a watch on a twig. It looks hilarious.
It's like if I put a dinner plate on my wrist, right? Like Adina is so petite in this watch. I mean, it was, I seriously laughed out loud. And like,
it's so funny.
And not making fun of Adina. Like I love Adina to death. But this is so not the product for her.
She's 5'2". She's like, yes. And she was buying a Series 8, so which she did, and we've been setting up, and she's pretty excited about that.
Which one did she get?
Starlight.
Okay.
Because, quote, silver, it's less boring than silver.
Yeah.
Which is true. I mean, she's completely correct.
Yeah. I got
she went with the Starlight.
Mary's 7 is Starlight. Because I don't think they did like the regular silver in the Series 7. And you can't tell the difference unless it's side by side with a silver watch. And even then you're like, maybe. I mean, it's very subtle.
Yeah, I'm going to find that image that she sent me and we'll put it in the show notes.
It's hilarious.
It's absolutely hilarious, and it's definitely worth people seeing, because, it gives you the idea of like, if you're like slim 5'2", like tiny person, this probably is not going to work for you. I mean, I don't know. You make your own decision, but I don't think it...
Probably not. I need to get Mary to try it on. I think it'd be a similar effect. But yeah, I mean, this watch is an outlier, right? Because of the size, because of the look. It means that it's just... Some people just aren't going to be able to wear it. And if you're someone who wears an Apple Watch in a lot of different contexts, this may not work, right? So if you go into an office day every day in a suit and tie, or like, a nice blouse or something, like this doesn't dress up as easily as some of the other Apple Watches. Now, that may not be a deal breaker for you. For other people, it's a big deal. Like there's more decisions that go into this watch than I feel like there's ever been with the Apple Watch before. And I think if you are interested in it and you can get your hands on one in a store or something like that, I think it's worth trying it on first, because I mean, unless you're you got, big beefy wrists, like you like big watches, then go for it. But if you have any doubt in your mind and it's easy to get your hands on one, I think it's worth trying that, because it is surprisingly different from any other Apple Watch we've had. And we've had 2 size increases over the years, but there's way more ground, way more space between this and the other Apple Watches than all the other Apple Watches combined. And I think that's cool. Like I'm glad Apple's diversified the line, and I'm glad what they did works for me. I think it's I think it's really cool. I really enjoy it. But it does mean that they've built a product that's not for everybody in a way that we haven't really seen with the Apple Watch. I mean, there are people who don't like the Apple Watch, and there's people who,
Look, there are people that the big one is already not, like the what used to be the big one was already not for them because it was too big. You know what I mean? And everybody has their own taste, right?
Yeah.
You could be a tiny 5'2" person and want this and wear it and like it, and that works for you. But, like you kind of roll your own adventure on that one. But I think one of the things about this watch is like, it, as compared to other watches that exist in the world of this size, is like the Apple Watch, the bands kind of really come out at the sides, and it makes the whole thing look bigger.
Yeah.
Which is just the way they design it. But like standard watches don't do that, right? They come down from the lug way more. And maybe actually now Apple probably have some bands that might work like this. Or maybe you could get a third-party band that the lugs are more detached and it kind of like has a different profile. But it makes the overall thing look so much larger.
I will say with the Alpine band, at least, I don't think this is true for the Ocean Water one, but the Alpine band, at least, the fabric loops can go in any direction.
Yeah.
And so for me, the lugs stick out a little bit, but then the band basically goes straight down.
I think one of the things that makes the image, which I've put in the Discord, is the show notes of Adina wearing it. She's wearing the Ocean band, which is definitely, I think, the chunkiest of all of them, right?
I think if I try the Ocean band, it may not work for that reason, but I guess we'll see. So it's just that there these factors that go into deciding if the Ultra is right for you. I mean, there's also like price and these other things, right? But if you were someone who bought, a stainless steel or a ceramic watch, or you're somebody who updates their watch every 3 years and you're looking at this one, like I think there's also a longevity angle to this watch, not necessarily because it's more rugged or extreme, but like just the battery capacity alone means this watch could perform really well for years to come as the battery degrades, right? Because you're starting with so much more battery life than anything else we've ever had in the Apple Watch. And so those are all factors with this. And for me, it totally works, but I think for a lot of people, it may not. And that's fine.
And on the price, I am still surprised about the price. So like,
me too.
If you want to get a silver stainless steel with a sport loop, the 45 millimeters is $749.
Yeah.
This is $799. So like, I kind of can't believe that it's only $50 more by and large than a like regular stainless steel one. It's not that much of a jump. So if you're in the market for an Apple Watch, this is definitely in the conversation now, right? Like, and let's not fitness shame, right? Like, you don't have to climb a mountain to wear this watch.
No.
Like, if you just want it, get it. But maybe it'll be big on you.
Maybe. It's still going to be orange, though, which is the best part. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Indeed. When you're hiring, you're supposed to leave no stone unturned. But how do you actually do that? Well, it's easy. You partner with one powerful stone turner. You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't have to spend hours on multiple sites looking for candidates with the right skills. Do it all with Indeed instead. You can find top talent quickly with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. And if you hate waiting, Indeed's US data shows that over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. And hiring all in one place is made really easy with features like virtual interviews. After Indeed's virtual interviews, most employers say that it saved them days of hiring time, according to Indeed Data US. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide who use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows that when you're growing your business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why when you sponsor a job, you only pay for the quality applications from resumes in their database matching your job description. So visit Indeed.com/connected to start hiring now. That's INDEED, Indeed.com/connected. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing is not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Thanks to Indeed for the support of the show and Relay FM.
I wanted to take a moment to talk about watchOS 9.
Okay.
I had some thoughts on it that I wanted to share, and maybe, kind of fits in with all of this. So I mentioned, one of the things I'd noticed is they've definitely done something to... Oh, by the way, go read Alex Guillot's review on Mac Stories.
It's fantastic.
It's very good. Helps me with understanding all the things that I can do. So, I have noticed that there are definitely places in watchOS 9 where they're optimizing for screen space a bit better. The banner notifications are one of these, right?
Yeah.
If you're using the watch, if the watch is active, notifications now appear as a banner rather than taking up the entire screen, which I definitely prefer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty nice. I ran the watchOS beta for the first time ever this summer. In the beginning of the summer, I wasn't so sure about the banner notifications, but I've come to really like them because if you're setting up a workout or you're reading a text message or you're doing something with the watch, the old notification style was basically modal, right? It would take over the whole watch and you couldn't do anything until you dismissed it or the animation went away. And now it's just like the iPhone or like the Mac where you can be working, be doing something, see it come in, you can go contend with it, or you can just let it go and it'll be a notification center when you come back. So I've really come around on this feature a lot more than I was earlier in the summer.
The same as the kind of varied sizing now in Notification Center. I feel like they're doing a better job of stretching and shrinking the notifications. I think it looks cleaner. Except, when you see the notifications pop up, I think they look better than they did before, just the overall look of them when you do get them full screen. Except some apps, they look incredibly janky. I don't know why.
Yeah.
The text is all wrong. It's all wrong, and I don't...
The Todoist one, the text is trying to escape the notification UI on the left side. It's bizarre. Really strange.
I was really excited for the Metropolitan watch face.
Yeah, tell me about that because I spent a little time with it, but I definitely want to hear your thinking on it.
It's just a visual style that I enjoy. I own a Metropolitan style watch, Nomos watch, and I just like the way it looks, the visuals of it. I always end up in this situation with the colors of the watch faces. I don't like when the color dramatically changes from the always on mode to the active mode, right? So if you have a white watch face, it goes dark, really dark when it goes into always on. And I find that to be really annoying to see that transition occur. So I tend to run watch faces where I can have them be dark. So I have on the Metropolitan face, I'm using the color is just the gray color because when it goes into the always on mode, it's then kind of still just a darker gray basically. But it does some stuff that I don't like. I don't like that it removes the numbers and it also goes a little too dark. It darkens the complications a little too much. And I was wondering how that was going to be for me for a bit, if it was going to be annoying, but I've kind of come around on that because I really like this face. It has one of the weirdest features of any Apple Watch face where if you activate it and you scroll the digital crown, the numbers change shape, they get larger or smaller and the font changes. It's very strange, but it's the thing that you can do.
Yeah, because the California watch face, it has different styles for the time. But you change it in the edit, you just scrolling digital crown doesn't change it. I just want more consistency across the way these watch faces work, the Wayfinder one.
Why? But you can, in the editing mode, you can also make customizations like the California, so you can choose how many numbers do you want to show up. So that's the same. But do you remember the one that they made for the Apple Watch Series 5, I think, where it looked like the time was melting off the sides?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do.
When you turn the digital crown with that one, it moves. So they've done this a couple of other times. It's a strange thing, but it's kind of fun to play with.
Do you remember the feature, maybe Federico remembers what it was called, where you would rotate the crown and the time would move?
Time travel.
Time travel.
Worst feature. That feature sucks.
Yeah, because you
sucked so
you
bad.
hit your digital crown accidentally in your jacket, and then you're late to a meeting because you think it's 3 p.m. and really it's 4:30. Like, it's so strange.
I understood what they were going for, but it was a bad idea. I like the medication app a lot.
Yeah.
So I was using the medication feature on my iPhone, but it's way better on the watch because it has like the app is there, and you can also just like say, hey, I took my meds from the watch notification. I really like it. So that's really good. Low power mode, very good to have. It came in handy when I was coming home from America. Like, my watch was getting down and I could put it into low power mode, and I still get activity stuff that way. Because previously you do it in that power saving mode or whatever, and it was basically like your watch didn't work. Talking about watch not working, I don't like the new interaction with the sleep focus mode, where you have to hold down the digital crown to get to the watch.
Yeah.
That really annoys me. I don't like that.
It used to be that you spun it, right, to get out of...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit weird to me. Maybe they had feedback that people's watches were coming out of sleep mode. Is like, I would think it'd be easier to accidentally turn the crown in your sleep, like dragging your arm across the pillow or something. But
I don't know if it used to lock me out like this
maybe
with
it
the
didn't.
sleep mode.
But yeah, that's
You're
a
thinking
weird
of
change.
the water thing, because they changed that too.
Maybe I am.
But with sleep mode, it used to just do what it does now. It turns the always on off. But then if you want to use the watch, you have to hold down the crown. I find that really annoying. I don't need it. I don't need that feature, and I don't like that they're making me do it. The last thing that I really love about WatchOS 9 is the keyboard when you're replying to messages now has suggestions for words that you can tap like QuickType, where before you had to tap the word and scroll the digital crown to change the word, which was terrible. But now you can, it's better optimized for the things, which I actually, more than I thought I would, do I reply to messages using the swipe typing on my watch.
I didn't even mention that on the Ultra. On the Ultra, you can just totally just type with your index finger. Like, it's so big.
Yeah, there's a ton of space.
Yeah. It's that feature, like, man, it was built with the big Ultra in mind for sure.
So that's my thoughts on WatchOS 9. Let's welcome Federico Vidici back to Connected. Hello, Federico.
Hello. I want to explain what just happened to me because, like, I'm honestly like shaking right now. And there's a tech angle to this. So as I was recording the show, I just watched my beach house being broken into by a guy via my security camera. Like, I got the alert and I just watched it.
What security camera do you have?
I have a Logi Circle 2 outside. Like, initially I panicked.
Yeah, of course.
I was like, I thought I was like having like a hallucinations. Like, am I hallucinating this?
Yeah.
And I realized this is happening for real. And I texted you guys quickly, and then I got up and I just spent the past 35 minutes first on the phone with my mom, because obviously I'm in Rome and she's closer to the beach house than I am.
Right. But
then my mom immediately called the police, and the police told her, stay where you are. Don't go there.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, geez.
And also, it's dark now even. It's like well past, 8 p.m. And I sent the police called me, and I just had to describe this guy on the phone to the police. Like, can you tell us what he looks like? And it's been so weird to do this, like, to watch a person break into your house and describe to a police officer on the phone what you were seeing and the details, like what does he look like? And then they asked me to send them the videos on WhatsApp. They gave me a phone number, and the police officer told me, can you quickly please send me these videos on WhatsApp? Because we have 2 we have 2 cars with officers outside your home right now.
Whoa.
And it's been
Carabinieri, baby.
Yes.
They get it done.
Yeah, and it's been so, I don't know, I'm shaking right now, guys.
I'm not surprised. It's a very horrible thing.
The tech angle is that HomeKit Secure Video worked exceptionally well. I got the alert and it told me there's a person in your home. I opened the home app and I selected the portions of the video tracks that I wanted to export, and I just saved them as MP4 files in the Files app, and then also in Photos, because it was easier to send them to my mom and to the police. And it was super easy. But yeah, like, my hope is that, like, it's been so weird. Like, I just watched this guy jump over the gate and go through my stuff with another guy outside, just covering him, I guess. I don't know, it's first time in my life that this happened to me. And, it's not fun, but at least, yay past me for installing a security camera. And also, this is so weird. It's one of those coincidences. It's so weird. Last week, Sylvia and I were there. And we were like, should we take the security camera now that we're not at the beach anymore? Like, is there even a reason to keep it now? Nobody's here.
Oh, because you're kind of locked down for the season now, right?
Yeah,
like,
we're not going there. We're not going
Yeah.
there until next spring. And we're like, should we grab it? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. For now, let's leave it. And I had actually unplugged the Apple TV thinking I'm going to take this one, but then I realized, if I'm leaving the camera, it needs a HomeKit hub. So before I left, I plugged it back in and I ran the software update to tvOS 16 to make sure that everything was up to date on the Apple TV, serving as the HomeKit hub. And now, as a turn of fate, it was actually useful because of this. Jeez, I don't know.
I'm very sorry this happened to you. This is a terrible thing. Federico was texting me and Steven. We were aware that it was happening as it was going down. Did it look like he got away with anything?
Yeah, and like this is so odd, but I actually don't think they stole anything of value, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were able to break in. We have a pretty heavy front door made of metal. It's one of those really old but sturdy metal doors. But outside, that's where we have the and I know I know that it's a serious situation, but I can't help but laugh about this stuff. I think the guy stole the barbecue stuff.
No!
I mean, I know what you mean. Like, it's a horrible thing, but you can laugh about it if, like, it just feels like he just took a few things that aren't really that important.
I think
right?
this idiot stole my barbecue stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure that from the video he stole, like, the axe that I used to grab wood to, have a light
Maybe
a fire.
he has some friends over and he can't light the barbecue.
Could be.
He stole my barbecue stuff. But like, I don't know. Like, I'm calming down a bit now.
Yeah.
Thankfully, thank God we took the things of value last week. Oh gosh. But yeah, this idiot stole. I mean, at least I hope he only stole my barbecue stuff.
Yeah.
What else do I keep outside? There's nothing of value outside. And he didn't even see these idiots didn't even see my camera because I got a very good look at the guy.
Here's the thing, right? For a crime like this guy is a chancer. He's not like, you know what I mean? He's not like a master criminal.
He's not a rocket scientist.
I watched him climb that fence, Federico. He's not, you know what I mean? He's not smart. Like, these people, they just...
You're not a pro.
He's just seen an opportunity and he's jumped in and tried to grab it because he's obviously so stupid that his face is completely visible.
Yes.
He just walks towards the camera.
Yes.
Moron.
Yes. And he stole my toolbox. It seems I'm taking a look at the video again. He stole my toolbox, my axe. Wow. Okay. I guess he needed some tools. I suppose it was like we're out of tools. So let's go steal some.
He's building something.
What else? He did it. Yeah. See, this is the gross thing about this. Seeing a random guy go through your stuff. Like
it's
even
a
if
bad
you
feeling.
didn't take anything of, like if it feels weird and gross.
It's a
watching this.
violation.
Yes, I feel violated. Yes, that's exactly what it feels like. I kind of feel like I just want to go there and throw everything in the trash right now. This is gross. Look at this idiot. Look at him go. It even looks at the camera at one point.
He's like, oh, look at that.
That's the moment, like, it's like the anime to be continued moment when he looks at the camera. He's like, uh-oh.
Look at this jerk.
This presents a unique opportunity to us
Okay.
to pivot Connected into a true crime podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, if they find him, we'll have an updated episode, talk about his sentencing, et cetera, et cetera.
We could like do this, like, from Relay FM, a story of a stolen tools, and then like Federico, give me a quote now. Just like say something, anything.
I don't know what they stole, but I can tell you for sure they grabbed my axe.
You say like this is how we like. That's how you build. That's how you build the stuff. The crime story,
like a very serial like style, like
He thought he was just jumping a fence, but instead he jumped into a wider story.
The guy had no idea he would end up on an international podcast about Apple stuff. Like that's the thing about it. Like this
let's
jerk,
get Interpol
like,
on this. He's just committed an international crime now.
See, like of all this, so through the history of the prompt and then Connected, we've done and discussed our fair share of weird things and topics, right? And we said some silly things, some more serious things. We've seen the spectrum of the topics we can cover. I never thought I would end up watching my house being broken into and talk about it on the show as it was happening.
As it was happening. That's the thing that kills me is we record 2 hours a week. Like this would have been strange no matter what time of day you sent us these videos, right? Like very upsetting, like all of that. But for it to happen on the show, it's just the universe telling us that, it's time to pivot the company.
Well, it's just like I'm asking Stephen, does your watch band fit? And Federico's sending me messages of a person breaking into his house. I will say, what this is what you get. Like, what other tech podcast has had a live house break-in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Federico, you have to go back and listen to see what I think about the Apple Watch Ultra, though.
I will do that. You
can provide follow-up next week.
Okay.
I think that we have now set the stage emotionally to talk a bit about Stage Manager.
You got me right where I need to be right now. Yes.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Text Expander. When you work in a small team, every moment counts. You don't want to be wasting your time finding video conferencing details to send to a new client or tracking down the same FAQs from the company's website over and over. These things should be at your fingertips so you can get your work done faster. That's why you need Text Expander. With Text Expander, you can access what you type the most with just a few keystrokes. This allows you to work faster and eliminate repetition, letting you focus on what matters most to you. Text Expander's powerful shortcuts and abbreviations streamline your team's work. All you have to do is type a short abbreviation and Text Expander does the rest for you. You can build and collect your most commonly used phrases, messages, URLs, and more right within Text Expander. Create your chosen abbreviation and they'll be with you wherever you type. You can even customize the snippets by having them automatically add in dates, fill in the blank fields, timestamps, and more. This makes sure that you still keep the personality in the communications that you send. Text Expander is available on any device you use across any app you use on Mac, Windows, Chrome, and iOS. I do a ton of stuff in Text Expander. Something I use really often is when we pay people, I've got a form to fill out, and I've got to put in like the entity I'm paying, and it has to be exactly correct or the bank, freaks out and the money comes back and we get charged and all that stuff. And I got tired of errors. And so I have a text expander now that I type out the snippet. I get a little drop down menu. I get to pick from the list. It's all pre-formatted correctly. I click on the list and it automatically fills the field for me. That has solved so many errors in our payment system. I can't even tell you. I couldn't do my work as efficiently without Text Expander. If repetitive typing is getting you down, you need Text Expander. Go to textexpander.com/connected and you get 20% off your first year. That's textexpander.com/connected to say goodbye to repetitive typing. Our thanks to Text Expander for their support of the show and Relay FM.
So yesterday, Apple gave a statement to Engadget. I will now read that statement. We introduced Stage Manager as a whole new way to multitask with overlapping resizable windows on both the iPad display and a separate external display with the ability to run up to 8 live apps on screen at once. Delivering this multi-display support is only possible with the full power of M1-based iPads. Customers of iPad Pro 3rd and 4th generation have expressed strong interest, that's one way to put it, in being able to experience Stage Manager on their iPads. In response, our team have worked hard to find a way to deliver a single-screen version for these systems with support for up to 4 live apps on the iPad screen at once. External display support for Stage Manager on M1 iPads will be available in a software update later this year. Apple also delayed... the external display support is delayed, yeah. And then everything else is coming out whenever it comes out, 16.1.
Yeah, so it is a little confusing. So the 2018, 2020 iPads, no external display support for Stage Manager ever. The M1 is still getting it, but not anytime soon. And Federico, my question for you is, does getting rid of the external display support for now, does that fix Stage Manager? Was that the core of the problem?
It was one of the crashiest parts of it, but it doesn't fix the problem, unfortunately. I was hoping yesterday that it would fix the problem. So almost like, cutting off a rotten limb. I'm sorry for the green metaphor, but
you're in a mood. You know what I mean?
I'm in a mood right now. But no, it doesn't fix it. The problem is still there, despite the dropping the weight of that part. The problem persists. Yeah,
it was quite interesting to follow along with Federico on Twitter yesterday because he seemed like
an emotional
so
arc.
excited and then so sad. It reminded me of the comedy and the tragedy masks, which I found out are also known as sock and buskin, which I did not know until I looked this up today. But where it was like he was so happy and then immediately so sad.
Yeah.
Federico, I would love you to give that kind of whole arc to the connected audience of why were you happy about what Apple did and then why are you sad?
Well, immediately I was happy to see the recognition of the feedback from the community. And I was happy to see Apple being willing to compromise and saying, okay, we hear your feedback. We know that you really want to use Stage Manager on your older iPad. So how about this? We don't give you external display support. We give you single screen Stage Manager, and you can use it on the 2018 and 2020 iPad Pros. I liked that immediately. I thought that's a good sign. That's a company that's willing to listen. And I understand. And also right away, I felt optimistic. Because of the removal of the external display support, which has been frankly unusable, right? And I wrote about this in July. I have been extremely skeptical of all these folks who have done videos on YouTube showing, hey, Stage Manager is perfect on my external display, where they're basically showing like a static screen for 20 minutes. Like, yeah, if you leave an app running on an external display and you don't touch it and you don't move anything, it's not going to crash. But the moment you try to work with it, it's going to crash. So those videos were funny. And so immediately I felt happy to see a company willing to compromise and optimistic about, maybe this is the time they're figuring this out. So I installed the beta, and I thought, okay, maybe there's going to be more fixes. There's going to be more, improvements on this front. Things are maybe pointed in the right direction. I started using it for the first 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something. It was totally fine, right? Totally okay. No crashes, no problems. And when I say problems, I mean of the technical nature. We can get into the problems of the design nature later. I mean, strictly technically speaking, no problems, no crashes, no weird black bars, nothing. And so, okay, I'm thinking, this is great. This is nice. Apple is listening. They are changing their minds on this. The thing is not crashing for me. Maybe this is the beginning of an improvement. Maybe they are turning the ship around. I figured, as maybe finally, I tweeted this, maybe finally I can sit down and write this iPadOS 16 review and write about Stage Manager. And the moment I started using it for real, quote unquote, real work, that's where the problems reappeared again. And once again, I felt like in the span of just a few hours, this is like living the worst nerd version of Groundhog Day ever. Like in just a matter of hours, I was right there where I started. Meaning I click an icon in the dock and my iPad reboots. Or I click a link to open a web page in Safari and my iPad reboots. And so I was like, okay, here we go again. It's crashing every few minutes. And I try to use drag and drop to drag in a window because they still don't have a proper shift-click behavior to add an app from the dock to your current workspace. So I'm using drag and drop. I use drag and drop, and instead of seeing my app, I see a black rectangle. Like, okay, here it goes again, this bug as well. So I'm like, okay, here we go. The whole team is here. The crashing, the black box, everything is here once again. But then a new enemy appeared, so to speak. That enemy being the trackpad. Or, the fact that when you move between windows, and I'm struggling to describe this because this is like the weirdest bug ever for a windowing system. You would expect in a windowing system to, take the pointer from one window to another, right? So you click on Safari, you interact with Safari. Notes is floating right next to Safari. You click on Notes, you work with Notes. That's exactly what people do with their computers.
It's the point of a windowing system.
It's the whole point of it. Like you move the cursor, you click on Windows, you work with those windows. In the latest version of iPadOS 16, and I'm getting there, but I need to set the proverbial stage for this. I know, right? I'm good with words. Yes. In the latest version of iPadOS 16, I noticed that when I moved the pointer from one window to another, in the other window, my clicks would not get recognized. Like I would click to the new window.
So you're in Safari.
Let's say I have Safari and Notes. I move to Notes, I start clicking
Yeah.
around, and the clicks do nothing.
Right.
And initially I thought, something is wrong with my Magic Keyboard. So I do one of those things that, folks do often, like, let me detach and reattach my Magic Keyboard because maybe something got stuck. And nothing. I'm moving between windows, and when I move again, I click, and the other window does not respond to my clicks. And so I'm like, let me reboot my iPad. So I shut it down, and I power it on again. Open Stage Manager, 2 windows, move between them, the clicks go nowhere. Until I realize that there's this bug in this version of Stage Manager, which is now in public beta as of an hour ago. So everybody can go in and test it.
Oh,
good. Good.
Yeah, go there and test it. Clicks get the trackpad. So this only happens with the trackpad, or, the accessory that Apple sells you with an iPad Pro. Clicks get stuck when you move between windows. If you want to get it unstuck, you need to click the edges of a window or the 3-dot multitasking menu at the top of a window. Doing that will unstuck the window so your clicks will work again.
So effectively interacting with either the resizing system in some way.
Yes.
And does this happen 100% of the time for you?
100% of the time. And so I thought it was so wild. I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe that they would ship a bug so bad that it would happen, right? I thought something was wrong on my end. So out of sheer precaution, and just to make sure that I would have a proper response to the people, to the the reply guys on Twitter who would say, "Oh, but it's your iPad." Recently, someone told me that the problems I have with Stage Manager are due to the fact that my iPad is overloaded. Someone told me that.
Steven used to cyberbully me with this, telling me to restore my phone. This was the thing.
Yeah, so because I know that, I can get behind that argument. I've been using this iPad Pro for a bunch of weird things. Insert base 64 joke here. I've been running a bunch of betas. It's a fair argument. So I wiped my iPad Pro. Not even the erase all contents and settings. I'm talking DFU mode. All right, straight up DFU mode. Downloaded the software image from the Apple developer website, restored my iPad Pro without a backup. Nothing. Fresh iPad Pro. I go in, enable Stage Manager, open 2 windows, click between them, my clicks get stuck. So that's when I gave up. Yeah, that's the moment when I was like, I'm giving up here. I'm done. Like,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think we are in the worst timeline for Stage Manager. Apple prioritized the wrong thing, and I was worried they would do this, and they've done it. In my opinion, they have wasted the last 2 to 3 months doing the work to make sure that this will be enabled on the older iPad Pros and not getting it to a stage where it is reliable on the M1 iPad Pros. I feel like what they should have done is made this statement but said it will come in 2023 for other iPad Pros and spend this time making Stage Manager not even just better. Like, we've been talking about a lot of like better, but it's clearly, as Federico is running into untold problems, right? Like, I feel like they've prioritized the wrong thing. I know that, Federico, you are happy about the fact that they listen to the community. I was away on the episode where you guys spoke about this, and it was a great episode. But at that time, I would have said, no, they have to, like, they did not need to ship Stage Manager at the same time on all devices if they had to do it at all. I know why it annoys people. I get it, right? Like, you want to be able to use this feature on this device, which otherwise runs fine. But, like, this happens all the time, right? Like, this is just the way that technology moves. And you can ask for it, and if they give you it, they give you it. But now they have, I think, made the wrong decision, because I think they have clearly spent a lot of time working on this, because this is the first we've heard about this, right? Like, all of a sudden, now, like, 3 months after an initial release, 3 months after the outrage, where Apple said time and time again why they couldn't do this, they've now said, LOL, JK, we've done it, right? So it feels like they have had to obviously put a lot of work into making a version of this that can run on their other hardware, even in a somewhat limited space, but I think for most people, they don't actually really want the external display support anyway. Like, I think Stage Manager is at its best just like being a windowing system on the iPad. I think like that is what it should focus on most. And then the external display support is like nice if you have it, nice if you want to use it, etc., etc. But like that is really, I think, like Stage Manager is already a thin side of the wedge. Like external display support for your iPad is an even thinner wedge, right? Like we're just like really going on like percentage of people at that point. But if we've gotten to this point, and I mean, we are anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks in theory of this thing shipping on an ideal timeline, right? It just doesn't seem like it is in any kind of state, because there are new bugs and they haven't addressed any of the things that you want to make the thing better.
Yeah. Yes. So
what this isn't like is like Safari, right? I think a lot of people are going to compare this to Safari, and people are going to say, "Oh, they changed Safari, right?" But they changed Safari in good ways and made Safari from bad to good. Where all they've done, like for this one, is they've just made it available on more devices, but it's still got all the problems it had at the beginning.
Potentially widening the user base of folks who are going to run into problems.
Yeah. More people get the bugs.
Yeah, there's now more people that will be upset.
And with Safari, it took a couple of betas, but then we saw pretty good progress.
Exactly. So that's where I wanted to go. So Myke, you said that I was happy about having be extended to more users, and yes, initially I was, but then this morning, after sleeping on this, I was thinking like, I'm happy that they listened, but then I went back in and checked. We talked about this stuff on June 15th. More than 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago. And we're seeing this change now. And so that, first of all, says a few things about how slow moving this ship really is, right? I mean, we are seeing now addressing feedback from 3.5 months ago. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But even then, like they have removed half of Stage Manager, right? And now I'm wondering, like, who's happy now? Because people like me, we wanted stability, we wanted a bit more configuration options, like a bit more flexibility from Stage Manager and Polish, and we didn't get that. Other folks wanted external display support, and I know I have seen some Mac Stories readers tell me I upgraded my old iPad Pro to the M1 because of Stage Manager, and now it's useless. And so those people are not happy, and because it's been 3.5 months, right? It's been people make decisions in 3.5 months. It's a long time in this day and age.
I would say, like, I know what you're saying about like the length of time it takes for the ship to turn, and I understand what you're saying that of like if they make a decision, how long does it take to act on it. The one thing I would add to that is we don't really know just how truly big or small a job it was to actually even get this to a point where they were willing to say they were going to do it.
Exactly.
It may have taken like completely redoing the thing.
Exactly. So this is my problem, because like we've been talking about this, and the reason I keep talking about it is that obviously I really want to use this. Right? If this was something that I didn't care about, I wouldn't talk about it. Like Apple News. I mean, no offense to who works on Apple News, but I personally don't use the product. I don't have a lot of emotions and feelings about it. I really want to use Stage Manager, and I can tell you,
it's made for you.
Maybe, right? But I feel like I cannot imagine how much time and effort and like people working overtime has gone into making this possible, where this continues to be a product that when you use your trackpad, it doesn't accept your clicks. Like all that time and effort for this, and you look at what this actually is, and you start to wonder, was it worth it? And to me, this is like such a perfect example of the fallacy of sunk cost. This this economic principle where like basically invested so much into a thing that you don't want to give it up, whereas the more sage advice would be to cut your losses, right? And Apple is not doing that. They are continuing to insist on, no, we are doing Stage Manager, even though, but like you start picking off the things, right? Okay, so now we said we wouldn't do it on more iPads. We are doing it on more iPads, but it's not ready yet. Okay, so we are going to delay it. It's still not working well. What if we cut the external display support? At what point do you end up with something that doesn't even resemble what Stage Manager was supposed to be? Like, I think Apple needs to take a long breath here and be like, okay, seriously, do we absolutely need to ship this by October? Like, is it absolutely necessary? Because I continue to ask the question that I asked last week and 2 weeks ago. Who is happy about Stage Manager on iPadOS at the moment? Like, I want to know who's happy about it. Like, is there anyone who loves it? And I don't understand, because I continue to look. I'm never gonna be the person who loses hope, and it's like, I'm gonna stop using the iPad. I quit. I'm done. Like, it's just not who I am. So I continue to hope that Apple can figure this out, but then that continuing to hope is just not backed up by reality at the moment, because as time goes on, week after week, each week is more problematic than before. I mean, let's face it, each week it gets worse. And I'm not saying this to be an Apple hater, or like, I want to use this thing. Like, I want to work with it. I want to use it. I want to write about it. Because when it worked, it was cool to have 3-4 apps at the same time. But let's face it, each week it gets worse. How do we get out of this hole? And I said 2 weeks ago, and I said it last week again, they're only digging a deeper hole each week. And that continues to be more true every single week. It gets worse on a weekly basis. And it's not like it gets worse, but you can see, but they're doing this to make it better. No, they're cutting off things, and it continues to get worse. Mm-hmm. And that's not to mention all the things that Stage Manager does not have or does not do by design. Like, we haven't even touched upon the design of Stage Manager. That's a whole different thing. I'm talking about this product that Apple gave to us. We're looking at it as it is, just look at what this is. Because we could talk about design of Stage Manager, how I would have liked to see different decisions being made. There's a conversation to be had about, do we really need overlapping windows on an iPad as opposed to a tiling mechanism? But that's a different conversation. Let's just talk about the product, right? And it's just not there. Not for people like me, not for folks who wanted external display support at this point. So who is it for? And can it find a market within 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I also find it interesting, like, Apple knows what build is going to go out as a beta. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not a surprise. And like, that's what people are running. And the current version being so, like, in some ways, maybe the most broken version we've had in a while. So much about it makes me scratch my head about what's going on with this feature. And is it something inherently broken, like that in the way that this is being built, that they can't quickly fix it, right? Is there some sort of technical debt or some sort of legacy, something or other, that is holding them back? Because it's not like the people working on this aren't some of the smartest software engineers in the world, but they seem to really be struggling to get this even close to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of really, really, really smart people working on this stuff who listen to Connected, who listen to Upgrade, right? Who follow our work and listen to our opinions. And obviously, we, from here, in front of our microphones, we have no idea what it's like to work on this stuff, right? We have no idea about timelines, deadlines, product managers. These folks are optimizing this stuff for future hardware. We have no idea about the future hardware, but we are customers and we use the product that is given to us. And I think maybe Apple doesn't like it when their stuff is criticized. I mean, nobody likes a critic, right? Especially when you're the one making the product. But critics are necessary because in this case, I think ultimately Apple will be happy to have a better product, right?
Yeah.
That's why we talk about this stuff, because
I mean, if they hated critics that much, they wouldn't have enabled it for 3rd and 4th gen.
exactly, like
iPads. That's the only reason they did it, was because people were upset
and to
about
be
it.
fair, they do listen. They ask questions. They have been more proactive in reaching out to the press and the community over the past few years. It's a very different Apple from that point of view from, say, 10 years ago, 13 years ago when I started Mac Stories. And they really want to have a conversation about this stuff, which is great. But then look at the results. If they're not there, I'm sorry, but they're not there. And this is where we are.
I mean, look, we can only comment on what we can comment on, right? And what we can comment on is what we can see. And what we can see is that this thing is not good enough right now. But who knows what the next month might bring? There might be like, all right, look, we got all these fixes, but we had to get this version out first, and then we can... I'm like, great. Nobody wants to be, like, not necessarily proven wrong, but nobody wants to have to walk all this back and say, like, hey, they fixed it, more than us three.
Yes.
Right? Because we just want this to be good. I'll tell you right now, like, I think people might listen to some of these shows sometimes and think, oh, these guys just love to complain. I much prefer to be happy. I'll tell you right now, I much prefer to sit here and say to you how much I love something, because I am an enthusiastic person. It's what I draw pleasure in. But if we take our job seriously, of like, we talk about these things, sometimes it needs to be saying this isn't good enough. And like, to echo what Federico was saying, I'm sure there are people that listen to this show. There might be people that listen to this show right now who work on this project. And my expectation is, well, though, right? Like you don't want this to be doing what Federico is describing it's doing.
No, surely not.
So, like, I don't feel like bad that we talk about this. I'm sure if you work on it, it's frustrating to you, but we're not the ones making the frustration. Like, it's doing this thing.
Yeah, we're not making this up. Like, and I tried all the potential ways that I had to make this work for me, and it's not.
But I think that there is a management error that has been made in the development of Stage Manager during the beta process.
Probably.
And so I honestly feel for some of the engineers, because I'm sure that they have had their development focus changed. And I think that it was the wrong decision, unless a bunch of stuff starts coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Look, and I'm still hoping, right? Still, maybe the next one. Maybe we'll get it this time. But the one final thing I want to say is that at the moment, I feel, I got to be honest with you guys and with the listeners. I honestly feel like all this kind of iPad energy has been sucked out of me. Like, I feel exhausted for this stuff. And I'm again, in the spirit of honesty, I have no plan for my iPadOS 16 review at the moment. Like, I've been waiting for surely this afternoon inspiration will strike and I'll start writing. I'm not saying that I have writer's block, because I don't, because I just wrote something on Mac Stories today. I've been writing for weekly. About this specifically, I don't know what I think, because I feel like I haven't been put in a position to think and to understand, form an opinion, right? So I've been trying to distract myself, I guess, testing apps, writing about shortcuts. I'm gonna have a notes themed week on Mac Stories. I wrote about notes on Mac Stories today. I'm gonna write about notes in the monthly log. I'm gonna write about notes in Mac Stories weekly. I've been trying to do other things. I've been playing Cyberpunk on my gaming PC. I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this iPadOS review, because I feel like there's one big feature and I could write about it now, but what are the odds that what I write will be completely different in 2 weeks? Will it be worth it? How can I pre-write something that is on such a shaky foundation on a weekly basis?
I don't think you can write about it until, I don't think you should even start. I think you should wait for another couple of weeks. You see if it changes. If it doesn't, what's the...
But then if I'm late, everybody's going to be like, oh, where's your review, iPad guy?
Well,
it's just like...
well, I don't think there's anything you can do.
Yeah, well.
I feel like it's pointless to start writing it now, right? Because anything can happen in the next few weeks. You have to start all over again.
But imagine if I started writing this and I wrote about external display support. Imagine all the work that I would have deleted. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's still too much instability for you to even begin. And so maybe it just comes late, and it just comes late,
maybe
and that's it.
What it is, yeah.
Basically what happened with iOS 15
14.
or whatever.
Yeah, 14, I think it was. Yeah.
14. It just comes when it comes,
Yeah, well, I think that's what I got to do. Because I feel like it would be pretty dishonest, actually, to have a review of Stage Manager and I've only used it for 2 days. You can go look for that kind of content elsewhere. I'm sure there will be plenty of hands-on and things like that. It's not what I like to do, personally. So I'm waiting for I feel like the guy waiting there be like, is this my chance? Is this my chance? Is this my chance now? And every week I'm like, nope. So, hey, maybe next Tuesday, right? Maybe next Tuesday it'll be better. I don't know. We'll see.
In the meantime, if you want to find links to stuff we spoke about, head on over to the website relay.fm/connected/417. We also urge you, if you have not donated yet, go to stjude.org/relay. Go donate. The campaign winds down the end of this week. You can find us all online. You can find Myke on Twitter as IMYKE. Myke hosts a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM. You can find Federico at macstories.net and on Twitter at Viticci, VITICCI. You can follow me online as ISMH, and I write over at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Rogue Amoeba, Indeed, and Text Expander. And until next week, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.